नमस्कार दोस्तों, मैं आपका अपना दीक्षे और आप हैं मेरे साथ। तो आज इंटरनेशनल फिल्म फेस्टिवल ऑफ इंडिया गोवा में छठा दिन है और आज हमने एक फ़िल्म देखी है और उसके बाद एक कॉन्वर्सेशन सेशन अटेंड किया है मुकेश छाबड़ा और क्षितिज मेहता जी के साथ। तो चलिए चलते हैं।
Film critic and entrepreneur, Mr. Kshitij Mehta, and a journalist as well as an author, Mr. Avinash Lohana, who is the moderator for today's session. I request Sri Ravindra Bhakurji, MD, NFDC and Festival Director, 53rd IFFI, to kindly come up on stage and kindly do the honors by presenting the memento as a token of love and appreciation for this guest.
Before we start, good afternoon everyone. I'm really sorry, me and Kshitij are really sorry. We were in the flight and we landed on time, but I don't know, थोड़ा traffic हर जगह मिलता है. Really sorry about that. Sorry for आपको आधा घंटा wait करना पड़ा. I hope आप उस बात से दुखी नहीं है, खुशी होंगे कि हम आ गए.
That's the humility of a superstar casting director of our film industry. Huge round of applause. Mr. Mukesh Chhabra and Mr. Kshitij Mehta. So good afternoon everyone. Everyone's doing okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to start this session with Mukesh sir and Kshitij by saying, sir, this is my right profile, this is my left profile.
So don't stage पे you have to perform also ना. Profile से कुछ होता नहीं. Then you have to act also.
So इससे शुरुआत करते हैं आज तो. But you know the topic that we are discussing today is casting in new Indian cinema. It's a phenomena which, correct me sir, is not very old in terms of casting directors. Of course, casting has been happening forever, but the phenomena of casting director is not very old. But the process has changed over the years, evolved specifically because of digital media. Sir, how do you think you have seen this evolve over time?
I think casting तो हमेशा बहुत जब से इंडस्ट्री शुरू हुई है तब से कास्टिंग हो रही है. People have made such great films. From दो बीघा ज़मीन to दो आंखें बाहर हाथ, Mother India, Banditry, such great films, the great cinema, the great casting. This department is completely new to this world, in which is today's world. We call it casting director, because I think after Gangs of Wasseypur, when I realized there's so many new actors who are actually available in this city, but they're not getting the right opportunity. So actors are always there. So I just thought कि if I can be a pillar between actor and director, if I can make this actor to make him meet the right director. So this is what I was doing. So I just thought कि this is a very interesting department. People are not taking this job seriously. People are just saying casting, अरे इसको ले लेते हैं. Because हम लोग क्या करते थे कि फिल्मों में कि जो भी available आसपास दिखता था ना, हम उसको कास्ट कर लेते थे. So I thought कि let's just give a professional place to this job. So that's how I started. And now we, because of course thanks to digital also कि so many great shows, great actors, जितने भी actor आज आप देख रहे हैं, पहले फिल्मों में बहुत छोटे रोल करते थे. Now they are the central part of all the digital platform. So they do the big shows now.
And thanks to OTT for that.
Yeah, thanks to OTT because now, but I always say कि actor होता है, OTT में हो या फिल्म में हो, अब तो ये सभी stars हैं. इनके बगैर फिल्में नहीं बन सकती हैं और फिल्में इनके बगैर चल नहीं सकती हैं.
बिल्कुल. I think पंकज जी के बगैर तो I think casting होती ही नहीं आजकल कोई भी मूवी में. He is one of the names for sure.
नहीं, बहुत सारे लोग हैं. पंकज हो, विजय वर्मा हो, जिशान हो, रसिका दुग्गल हो, these are great actors. And there are so many new actors. Every show we see, whether it is Family Man, Telecrime, or you see Maharani, you see so many great talent, great actors. ये सब जो आए हैं वो डिजिटल में से आए हैं. They were always there. Opportunity इनको अब मिला है to showcase their talent.
No, just to give a small trivia, sir mentioned Gangs of Wasseypur. He had cast 384 actors for us.
Yeah, that took me like more than 1.5 years. The process went, yeah, because I auditioned so many people because मेरा खुद भी casting process को सीख रहा था. It was very new for me also to understand casting. And I'm glad that Anurag Kashyap gave me the full liberty कि ठीक है, go and explore. So and magic is in front of you. All the actors who are part of Gangs of Wasseypur now they're doing so well. They are a very important part of film industry in terms of digital, in terms of films. So I'm very happy that Gangs of Wasseypur are one of the popular casting directors.
I agree. Kshitij, from a talent management agency perspective, how do you look at casting? And sometimes criticism also comes your way saying that you all are all maybe promoting big stars. than smaller actors. How does that balance work for you?
So, I'll actually start by saying something is that for many, many years, I mean for decades actually, there used to be assistants who were hired to actually cast for films. We should start this discussion by acknowledging and understanding his contribution to what we're discussing today. I think he put casting directors and casting as a function on the map in the Indian film industry.
Absolutely.
It's nothing short of phenomenal. I'm telling you because having known him for about 10, 12 years now and having been in the business for around 12, 14 years, it functioned very differently. Sure, there were the one-off casting directors, but the way the function works today, after him, there have been so many more who've chosen it as an option to pursue as a career. And I think that has happened because of the way he structured it, the way he functioned, and the number of people who got opportunities because of that is nothing short of phenomenal.
Absolutely. In fact, I always say, Kshitij, sorry to interrupt you there, but I always say there's a superstar actor, superstar composer, and then there's a superstar casting director, which is Mr. Mukesh Chhabra.
No, absolutely. And the thing is, our journey as an agency also is so closely linked to this function of his, is because what I do today for a living didn't exist as a function at all. So as an agency, there were secretaries earlier who were managing dates. In the West, of course, it's a lot more organized because there are agents whose primary job is to create opportunities for the talent they represent. That only started happening after casting directors came in, because it gave us the option to go meet them and speak to them, because the senior producers and directors were not accessible to us as well. So that's just a function on how it worked. Now, the criticism you speak of, actually that's not true, because if you actually sit down and understand the roster of talent that we represent, we or other agencies like us who represent, you will find that at least 50% of the talent we represent comes from the newcomers. There are people who come from different parts of the country who we also represent. A lot of them have been cast by him, Huma for one, because you mentioned Gangs of Wasseypur, but there are so many such actors, Rajkumar Rao, Uma Qureshi. Now these are people who we represent from 8, 9, 10 years. Today people look at Rajkumar Rao as in a certain way. People look at Karthikar in a certain way, but these are people who we've been representing for many, many years before they became who they are today. And I think a lot of that is to do with the function of a casting director coming in. So that's not actually true. Of course, what happens is that once you're at a place where you're representing talent of a certain stature, certain seniority, of course the eyeballs go there. So it's easy to think that the focus is that, but that's not actually true, because today when we talk about ourselves, while we represent some of the leading names in the business, there's a very large team at work that actually works with the emerging talent, the newer actors, that works along with the casting directors to try and identify opportunities for them. And thankfully now there are newer, more exciting producers who are coming in who are also wanting to give these opportunities to new talent. So, yeah.
Sure. But from a commercial point of view, and I want both of you all to pitch in here, when you cast in a film, you also have to look at casting from a commercial point of view. कि कितना regain करेगा in terms of money. But I think digital gives you that space to experiment in terms of maybe not the most commercially viable actor. Is that something that comes as a roadblock for you all when you cast for films and shows?
It depends film to film. See, when I did Kai Poche, they were all new boys. When I did Laila Majnu, they were all new boys. And it totally depends film to film. The director saying, I have this bigger actor. Now you cast correctly. So I don't take that pressure. I always said whoever is right will get break. So I don't really take the pressure that I just see this actor is right, I should go with my conviction. And that is producers look out. I just want to do my work perfectly. Because I always think if I do my job well, I'm sure producer will never say no to me.
Yeah.
So I don't look at it, of course, when it's come to agency, we have to figure out who the right actor is in terms of commercially will work in today's time. I don't see that department. That's what my department only makes sure that whether this actor is right or wrong.
I get that.
So I think what OTT platforms have done is it's really made it pretty exciting, and it's like a flat structure now, because I don't think there's a pressure. there is pressure sometimes, but it's not always there to cast a name or a star of a certain value. At least, and even in the long format, which is a series, I think eventually when you're watching a series of 7, 8, 10 episodes, it's eventually actors who are going to shine. And that's actually the most exciting thing, because what that's done is that you will now be seeing so many of these actors who we might actually be remembering as people who've done smaller parts earlier, who are now, I mean, I don't want to get into specific names, but there are so many actors who are suddenly doing so much work right now, and these are actors who've been there for a while. So I actually think the pressure on OTT is much lesser, and that allows for easier casting. Of course, when it comes to theatrical films, there will be the Kai Poches and the Laila Majnus, but I think largely there's still a math at play. So you can't really blame producers to look in a certain direction, but I think platforms allow for a lot more open casting, easier casting. I mean, like Scam, Pratik Gandhi's been around for so long, and overnight, you know, that life changes, because it's almost like what happens to Hrithik Roshan after Kawana Pyare happens to Pratik Gandhi after Scam.
Even like after Jadi Balawat Pathanlo, after Shivali Shah Delhi Crime, after Huma Qureshi Maharani, I think after जो भी अच्छा actor है, वो survive करेगा बहुत अच्छे से.
No, I agree, which is why, Kshitij, like you mentioned that of course if there are certain films and there are certain actors that you have to cast, but when we could experiment on a digital platform, then why can't we take that guts to do it on films also? Because we constantly speak about content is the king. I mean, that's a word we hear that's a phrase we hear everywhere today.
So I'll tell you, having had this conversation multiple times with people at the platforms, the senior people at the platforms, the decision makers and stuff, the sense that one gets is that they also have a metric. They have their metric is not box office, it's numbers, it's number of people that sign on to a platform. So there are two things there on platforms. One is the number of people who view a specific film or show, and these are people who are already on the platform subscribing to it. And the other is the number of people who sign on to a platform to watch something. So for example, when a Salman Khan drops Radhe on Z5, it does add a lot of value to the platform, because there are that many more people who sign up just to watch it. So I think that is where the decision gets made. I personally think though, increasingly that it's changing. I think they're realizing that if your content is great, people are going to come watch it. So,
no, I get that. I have to ask you from a very layman question. If there are actors and if there are aspirant actors in this room who want to reach out to you, what is the easiest way to do that?
Just act a simple way. My email ID and address is everyone knows where I sit. Everyone knows my email address. And also think that just act. If you know how to act, I'll find you. Don't worry about that.
you know, if there are aspiring actors actually in this room, I have to say that, you know, from the outside, it seems really, really tough to get into the system, to meet people. Yeah, to meet people is tough, but I'm saying to be able to audition. I don't know how many people are from Bombay, how many people have visited his office, but there are drop boxes, there are people there. It's actually not that complicated at all. On social media, you'll get updates of what he's casting for or what his company is casting for or other casting directors. It's actually not that difficult at all. But yes, I mean,
you should know how to act.
And you know, another process which is an addition to casting process now, which has become very interesting, is that y'all also do workshops with actors while y'all are casting them. This takes away so much pressure from the filmmaker, because वो भी एक workshop करेगा ही, but क्योंकि actor train होके आया है, तो उसको readings करके खत्म कर सकता है वो. We can faster the process. Is that the thought process of having workshops as well?
Actually, before I became a casting director in 2005 or 6, but उससे पहले I used to only do workshops. So for me, that is also part of my job. So I do workshop only reason because director को अगर कोई लगता है कि सब नए actor है, उनका chemistry match करना, उनका reading करना, so they get comfortable with the new actors. So camera is also a technique. So all that emotion to understand the script, and we don't shoot in linear format. We shoot in non-linear format. If scene से बात क्या हुआ, scene से पहले क्या हुआ, emotion. So we do workshop only keeping that in mind कि film का space क्या है. And वो इसलिए workshop help करता है ताकि उन actors को script ऊपर से लेकर नीचे तक detail में मालूम हो. And that really helps because आपको सब कुछ मालूम है, आपको stage पे कैसे आपके कैमरा के सामने से perform करना है. That is why we do workshop, and that is my favorite part of my casting department. because and that nothing to do with casting too, because that's a different department. Yeah, but workshop are very, very, very important. Like how before the race, before in a natak you do a lot of races. Same way, before any film you should do a lot of workshop and reading so they're fully ready. That is very important today's time. And everyone does it. All the actors, from everyone you see, सबने अपने acting coach रखा है, किसी ने diction coach रखा है, कोई लोग workshop कर रहे हैं. Every actor, you see in today's generation actor or maybe older actor who are still doing so much work. सबके पास they all do workshop because cinema has also changed. It's more layered, more real. So I think they all need workshops.
Kshitij, are talents willing to do it, established and not established?
So, we were driving down right now and discussing the same thing because there are some who are willing to do it, there are many who aren't. What happens, I think, is that, if you achieve success without having gone through a certain process, then you sometimes also don't feel the need to go through it. So, of course, there are established stars, actors, whatever you want to call them, who wouldn't do it, but I can tell you that they would benefit greatly if they did, because in the long run, you will see a difference, because there will be someone else who will do it, and I think he'll be the best person to say this, but I feel the time now is for actors. It's very tough to make it if you can't act. I'm not saying that there won't be the one-off case of someone who will ride on a certain charisma or they look a certain way, but I think it's changed so much that I don't think you can pull a 10, 20, 30 year career if you're not going to give it that.
And I think workshop करना बुरी बात तो नहीं है. It's part of a job only. It's a good thing only. I think a lot of Rajkumar still does a lot of workshop. Kriti does, Aishman does, Kartik does. I think Manoj Bajpayee still does a lot of workshop. I think Nawaz Bhai does, because the preparation for the role, reading, workshop, very, very, very important. And there's nothing wrong in it. I think we all should do it. And all the actors, and it's great क्योंकि आप सब groom करते हो. अभी you see Manoj Bajpayee in every film, उनकी performance देखो, because of the workshop he does, the homework he put in.
I know you've said it in the past that the most difficult casting for you was Gangs of Wasseypur, but besides that, if there is any role that you remember was very, very difficult to cast, what was it?
There are so many like that. I would say Dangal, to find those four people were very difficult. To find Sanya, Fatima, Swani and Zaira, they were all very, very, very different. But difficult the process went over 1.5 years. We auditioned more than 12,000 girls. That's how we found two older and two younger kids. And a chiller party, Badalanki Bhajan ke Munni, actually that process went over 8 to 9 months. There were so many kids, and it's very difficult to say no to so many kids. The kids are kids. To find one right one was more difficult one. Because I can't say that this kid is not right. Because I think every kid is beautiful, every kid is special. So उन सबको उसमें से ढूंढ के एक मूल्य निकालना was very challenging for me.
Kshitij, do you dabble into this as well? Do you have to look at scripts saying this is a hard script to cast?
So, just so that I don't know if people are aware, but my job role differs from his in a way that he casts for the entire film, and my job is primarily to create opportunities for the people I represent. Of course, by virtue of building relationships over time, now scripts come in and one also gets to read at an early stage and share thoughts and inputs. But it's thankfully a lot easier because I have to share options from the people we already know. They have to find these people. So
then after that you can manage them also, no?
In fact, that's what I said some time back, is that he creates the funnel for talent that we end up representing, because casting directors like him find these amazing actors from all over the world. Right now we were driving down and there were hoardings of 2-3 actors, and irony is most of them are people who he might have cast for their first projects and their first films. So, and we probably represent them today, but that journey is amazing because they find them in the most obscure places. His team goes all over the country. That's a tough job. I mean, thankfully our job is slightly easier because our job is representing them and creating opportunities once they're here.
No, but I must congratulate how you guys represent it. Very, very, very important, because to take care of them, people in the right direction, very, very, very important. I think everyone need a guide, correct direction mein jana, and very important. You guys do an amazing job.
Absolutely. But do you want to explain to the audience, because now, and correct me if I'm wrong because you are the expert here, but agencies have also gotten into this space called content rooms, where people sit together from your company and they read scripts and then they decide and they brainstorm saying which actor is suitable for that part. If you'd like to explain that as well.
So actually I think as time went by, and as we grew in our core business, which is managing talent and the regular business, which is brands and films and digital and live events and stuff, we realized that you hit a ceiling at some point. So the idea was that what is the next phase for us would be to probably try and curate content. And while we might not be the best at that, how we go about with it is we get it to a certain point, after which we also pass it on to a producer, because that's not our expertise. Development is actually not our job. And sometimes what happens is, we also represent writers, directors, so by virtue of that, something just falls in your lap, a ready script which you read. So while the decision makers are always going to be the producers and directors and casting directors in terms of who gets cast or who makes sense for a part, we just suggest, we put forth our ideas, and hopefully if sometimes the stars are very exciting, then it flies anyways. If it's newer or younger talent, then we have to hope that producers, directors and casting directors see it the same way we see it. So our job is more of, but yes, we are increasingly trying to get into curating content. I wouldn't say developing it just yet, because that will require some time and a different skill set altogether.
Social media is such a big thing today, isn't it? We are all on social media. We are so active on social media. What role does it play in casting? I've heard from many people, and correct me if I'm wrong, but some people also look at social media numbers while casting actors for projects.
आई थिंक ये बहुत लोग मुझसे सवाल पूछते हैं. आई ऑलवेज से दैट कि सोशल मीडिया और एक्टिंग का कुछ लेना देना नहीं है, एंड आई एम मेकिंग वेरी क्लियर इन पब्लिक प्लेटफॉर्म. देखो क्या है, जो एक्टर होता है वो एक्टर होता है. ऐसे बहुत सारे ग्रेट एक्टर हैं इन कंट्री जिनके बिल्कुल भी बहुत कम फॉलोअर्स हैं, और जो बिल्कुल भी एक्टर नहीं है उनके बहुत सारा ज़्यादा फॉलोअर हैं. तो उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता, जितने फॉलोअर हैं उनके पिक्चर देखने चले जाते हैं, पिक्चर हिट हो जाए, ऐसा होने लगे. तो बट आई थिंक जो एक्टर है वो एक्टर ही होता है. तो फॉलोइंग एक डिफरेंट तरीका है. हम उसको यूज़ करते हैं इन्फ्लुएंसर को टू प्रमोट आवर फिल्म, टू वी ऑलवेज टेक द सपोर्ट नाउ बिकॉज वी ऑफ कोर्स, बट उससे एक्टिंग से लेना देना नहीं. आई हैव नेवर कॉल एनीबॉडी कि इसका फॉलोअर देख के इसको बुलाना देना चाहिए, बिकॉज आई डोंट रियली फॉलो. बिकॉज मैं तो खुद अपने इंस्टाग्राम को छोले भटूरे और राजमा चावल बेचता रहता हूँ. आई डोंट टेक इट.
So I actually, what I'll say about that is that, see, there are two things. One is social media influencers, who actually have nothing to do with acting, is right. And then there are creators. There are people who are creating content on social media. Now, you have India's largest YouTuber like a Bhuvan Bam, who's now got a major series coming on Hotstar in another month. Project Akoli.
But there are actors. There are actors. Like there is a guy called Viraj Gehani को मैंने अभी गोविंदा में कास्ट किया. Then there is Bhuvan Bam, of course. There is Prajakta. There is lot of actors. जो actors हैं जो content बनाते हैं, but they are also auditioning for roles. They're not. They are of course they're working on their social media because they get brands. They also run their house. So सबका अपना तरीका होता है पैसे कमाने का. They do that, and with it so much happiness. So, but when we auditioning, we also audition them. Like how we audition, maybe the guy sitting next to me, he wants to act. I say audition tu bhi kar le, Virat tu bhi kar le, Bhuvan Mam tu bhi kar le. So they all have to audition. Ultimately, what you audition is the final. Is the main thing.
I just feel that sometimes, I guess, if a part is not, let's say it's a supporting role, and that can be cast with a popular face, but I still feel they are creators and they're not influencers or just digital. If they're digital stars, there are two kinds, right? There are those who are actually acting, and then there are those who are just using social media to probably promote products and stuff, which is different, right? It's not different.
I think it's very easy to just go on your profile and edit and mention actor.
Yeah.
You just have to write actor. But can you actually act? It's very easy to just say, when people say that I'm a doctor, they don't know how to doctor the job. Like I said, my dentist, he knows how his job. And actor bold just every person I meet in this country say I want to get into acting. I said, Acha, is that easy? I should also tell my mom, dad, brother, sister, they all should get into acting then.
How difficult is it for you to tell someone who believes he's an actor but you believe he's not? To tell him that, listen, this is not working.
It's a good question.
Honestly, एक तो actor को भी बन सकता है if they really want to act. But not कि मेरी मम्मी ने बोला या पापा ने बोला, if you really want to act, so you can actually get into acting. But the process that you have to learn. You have to go to drama school, do some theatre, learn basics of acting. Very, very, very important. आप proper training करके आइए ना. आप you don't come for the purpose कि यार इसको तो बहुत पैसा मिलता है, attention मिलती है, photo खींचती है तो चले जाओ. तो उस reason से आओगे तो it will not going to help. If you really love the art, please follow the process. It's the process. इंजीनियर बनने का प्रोसेस होता है, डॉक्टर बनने का प्रोसेस होता है, हर चीज़ का एक प्रोसेस होता है. प्लीज एक प्रोसेस है, follow that process and just give your 100%. Learn, spend 18 hours a day in performance like everyone does it. You definitely make it because इतनी सारी opportunity है. आज के टाइम पे भी अगर आप एक्टर नहीं बन पाते हो तो ये आपकी प्रॉब्लम है.
I get that. मैंने कहीं सर इंटरव्यू में देखा, आपने कहा कि when you were casting Pankaj Tripathi for Gangs of Wasseypur, Anurag wasn't convinced about him playing the character. What is the challenge to convince a director in times like this when you feel as a casting director that he will kill it, but director isn't?
I think when you are sure about your job, then you can fight with people. Because I'm not a very yes-boss director. Sir, you're right. I don't say that. I said I love fighting with director because I'm right. So I always say that कि पंकज त्रिपाठी was always right. I said, ये सब कौन पंकज त्रिपाठी? I said एक एक्टर है, मेरा एनर्जी का सीनियर है, जूनियर है, तो उसको बुलाते हैं, टेस्ट करते हैं. I said, no, I want a popular face for that actor. I said एक काम करते हैं, उसको भी ऑडिशन करते हैं, पंकज को भी ऑडिशन करते हैं. तो I auditioned both the actor and पंकज को बोला कि यार आप आ जाओ. एक दिन पूरा स्पेंड किया, ऑडिशन किया. मैंने वो दोनों के दोनों ऑडिशन कश्यप को बोल दिया, you watch it and tell me. मैं चला गया. इधर तू ठीक बोल रहा है यार, आजा, इज वेरी गुड स्किल. I think sometimes if you're fully sure about your talent, you have to fight for them. Because you write for the film. And ultimately we're all working for the film. जो फिल्म का जो माहौल है, फिल्म का जो सेटअप है, फिल्म का जो कास्टिंग रिक्वायरमेंट, उसके अगर आप वर्ल्ड में फिट होते हो तो आपको फाइट करना चाहिए. Not fighting for an actor who's not right for the part. ऐसे same with for Kaipur I had to fight with Gattu for Rajkumar Rao. Yeah, so I think सबके साथ होता है, हर एक्टर के साथ शुरू में सबके साथ फाइट करना पड़ता है. It is, it's, but you have to fight.